ありがとうございました。
So I've been playing Way of the Samurai 4. Every time someone calls Yakuza the Japanese GTA, an elitist weeaboo dies. And rightfully fucking so, as the big dick diff between Western open worlds and the Japanese ones is quite vast, putting the focus on smaller, densely packed areas and the characters that inhabit them. Earliest examples coming to mind would be Majora's Mask and Shenmue, in which all of the townsfolk have proper personalities, names, interests, and tasks that they'll do regardless of your involvement. Less like a world made for the player and more like an actual place where you just so happen to be someone of minor importance. The mechanics also tend to be a lot less grab-baggy. Instead of driving, stealth and combat, and third-person shooting for instance, you'll more than likely just have some very fine-tuned combat or cleverly crafted puzzles and a few mini-games and character-driven exploration to support it. Now, of course, some exceptions do exist, like Rockstar's Bully using the exact same mold as a game like Kenka Bansho would, or the titular MGS5 and Final Fantasy 15, having clearly paid attention to what companies like Ubisoft were doing over here. But typically things tend to stick to the Japanese status quo, often resulting in some pretty weird and memorable shit. And boy oh boy, do I have something for you right here.
Ladies, this one's for you.
So there I was, butt naked on a tiny boat, docking hard into this quaint little Japanese town. Not impressed with the local texture qualities, I made my way over to the Council of Cuties, where apparently a civil war of some description had broken loose between the British, the xenophobes, and the Japanese magistrate. Being a dashing dandy boy, however, I decided to partake, and so I sliced up some dudes. After which, I dated a 13-year-old, spent an entire night gambling, and bought the cheekiest suit imaginable, as this is Way of the Samurai 4. A crazy game where you play as a samurai and just kinda do whatever the fuck you want. Generally, its structure is almost identical to the Kenka Bansho series, so your adventure lasts about an in-game week and each day lasts about an hour and a half, depending on what it is exactly you decide to do, of course. About town, there are various quests and events, some furthering the main plot and others giving way to neat little side stories. In both cases, though, they contribute heavily to the development of your very own homegrown samurai story and that of the town itself. And then the game ends, begging you to head back in and try to do shit differently. I mean, there's a total of 3 factions you can loosely choose from in order to influence the game's political conflict and in turn also change the town's people's perception of you.
It is Nate.
Especially with how each death is kinda treated like an ending on its own in a way. Like, you always get the option to either retry and pick up directly where you died, or start over and use what you've learned to be a better, or worse, person and use whichever weapons, outfits, and accessories you've bought, found, and unlocked right from the get-go. I'll get into this a bit more in-depth later, but the game really does change a lot based on what you do. And while it might not explain itself all that well, you can still view plenty of metrics and requirements that go into the various endings. Besides, once I saw an analytic for 4 play sessions, I knew that I was in for a good old time. Okay! I tried to do it myself, but didn't really. I don't think it sounded that good as the original, you guys. Arguably, though, the meaty, fleshy, pulsating heart of this game is most assuredly the combat. After unsheathing thine sheath with L1, you do harder knockback down type triangle. Square does a normal attack, triangle does a and block by holding down R1. What's interesting about the blocking here is how it incorporates different types of grabs and melee attacks to quickly knock someone off their feet while on the offensive. You see, the entire battle system is based around this pushing and pulling system, the tugging of war, where holding forward while attacking makes you strike a bit more eagerly and thus allowing you to break guards and gain the upper hand, almost like a type of sword flanking. and holding backwards puts you in a slower tactical defensive stance so that you can still get in some hits but not necessarily put all of your proverbial eggs in the offensive basket. So basically it becomes a game of enticing your opponent to go all out, allowing for you to be able to trip them up while guarding. If anything, it kinda reminds me a bit of Bushido Blade, only then really janky and a bit less intelligent. Like, there's barely any meters or on-screen variables, it's really down to monitoring your enemy's movements. The only display info what you do have are your health, vitality, the state of your weapon, and the generic beat-em-up special meter. These are very fucking important, being that said health replenishes automatically as you kick back for both you as well as your combatant, and that the speed at which it does that is based on your vitality. Now, it's not like the vitality bar is like your real health and that HP is only like a shield or something, kind of like what Halo or Final Fantasy 15 were doing, as green bar being empty still means dead. This means that being slow and methodical isn't necessarily always the best approach, as waiting too long could just as well cause the HP bars to fill back up, putting both of you back at square one. And the durability is pretty much what it sounds like, though your weapons won't necessarily die and you can always get them repaired in between fights. So yeah, there's a lot going on here with the different stances, set durability also being more of a mechanic without guarding or attacking someone who is guarding causes it to degrade faster, and not relying on any oblique visual cues or sound effects. I did die quite a few times getting to grips with this, and the fights can also take quite a while at first, though it wasn't ever something I got frustrated with. Dancing around each other, slowly taking calculated pecks right up until you finally catch them messing up, allowing you to comically juggle them through the air is a really satisfying thing to do. It's just that the AI sadly is dumb as fuck, and if you brute force your weapons upgrades at the local smithy, it can also be really easy to just stun cuck the opposing party into submission. But that's only a minor issue. I mean, it's not like the combat maybe perhaps being very fucking broken and easily manipulated, thus wasting all of its well thought out and interesting mechanics almost completely is a major detriment or anything. No, as there's plenty to see, do, and consider on your misguided adventure. Technically, Way of the Sam 4 might be fucking terrible with its selective frame rate and the fact that my screen was torn to stretch with every minor camera pan, not to mention the Deadly Premonition style low quality bloom porn filtering all over the place, but the town you inhabit is quite the sight. It counts a total of 9 districts, all rather tiny, but with shops and side quests around every corner. And because of the British invasion, these Asians have constructed a blend of architecture that is quite amazing. Like, you have the lotus flower trees, fishing huts and shrines sitting happily side by side, opulent manors, horse-driven trams and fancy brick walls. It's a pretty unique thing, not gonna lie, and it seems to fit very well with the game's general weirdness. I mean, it's an eccentric-ass title with some eccentric-ass characters. We got the strong female knight, Melinda Megamelons, the cowardly and sadistic Jet Jenkins, and the this is totally not an underage girl, we swear you guys, it's fine for her to be a romantic interest, don't worry about it, Laura Rita. Right on the nose! And with it being in its original Japanese still, the performances are good, and above all, fucking hilarious.
Good luck. Wonderful. Understand? Yeah. Okay.
Much like how you can influence the town, you can also change the direction of the story by being a mad lad intervening during the cutscenes with top banter. Well, we're not exactly talking Fallout 1 tier shit here. Whenever you do get the option to be, you can most certainly fucking be. Even during the most formal of Japaneseiest meals, there's totes an option to ask if we could have the daughters for dessert. You're also able to provoke and insult just about everyone, and sometimes even have the option to go full terrorist mongoloid and whip out your sword mid-convo. Most options lead only to funny or death, but with how it's structured, the act of dying isn't really something to get down over per se. Thing is that the cutscenes are always skippable and or fast forwardable, so by all means try out some shit. The soothing music, lush color palette, and the strong comedic overtones seem to imply as much at least. Way of the Samurai 4 is a beaconing display of technical ineptitude, but a stunning showcase of what it truly means to be neat. Its world is rather tiny, and things can get a bit dull as a result, but in that travel is never a bother, and you can also learn the lay of the lays almost instantly, nor does doesn't ever get in the way of the story pacing either. The combat is broken but fun, the characters are all lovable, and there's plenty of girlable girls and dudeable dudes that, once combined, submerge you under the warm blanket of that its peers also excel in.
Do you know any places where sailors hang out around here?
Sailors? Yeah, I see them at night.
At night?
They're really big bad dudes, you know?
This game doesn't explain shit. And while most of it is figure-outable, I missed out on like half of the fucking thing just through fucking around on my own, so I played it through twice. Once, just me doing me, and on my second run, I assumed the role of a horny villain asshole telling people to either go fuck themselves or to fuck me. Also, I played it on easy this time. I picked normal at first, for I am not the pussy, but apparently the strength of your sword or whatever dictates a lot in regards to how far you can get towards getting any of the not awfully blue-balling endings.
Oh my god, I was so close to banging that child!
And getting your shit up to snuff is hard enough as it is, but on normal it is said to be next to impossible for a first-timer. So, instead of hanging around with the Brits, bonding with Fuckboy and the totally not underage Lolita girl, I opted to choose the I can get in on this option when the evil man was manhandling the not child. And yeah, shit was actually quite different. Right out of the gate, I started romancing the cutie bar girl who luckily was of legal age, and this one dude who ended up dying in the naked timeline became the fucking blacksmithy successor in that Sung cosplay timeline, all due to my own meddling. Honestly, it's a surprisingly deep game. I went from being all like, yep, okay, this is neat on my first run to being all like, holy fucking shit, everything is different, I love this so much. On my second, and I even watched the best friends playthrough as a type of supplementary as well, so that's technically like 3 separate angles what I experienced, and I still feel like I don't entirely get the game just yet. And I don't mean that as if it didn't click with me, like, you kidding me, bitch? I fucking loved it, but more so in the sense that there's still a lot left for me to do and experiment with. Though, I feel like I've had my fill for now at least. Totes recommended in any case. It is very janky, yeah, and it can get a tad frustrating as a result, but even then, I still kept stumbling across weird random bullshit all over the place.